Hey guys, RPM here. Hope you're doing well. Having a really great day. This video, I want to talk with you all regarding my servers that I've just basically been starting my server crypto journey now. And I wanted to go through some trials and tribulations that I've had trying to get my setup here to work. I haven't really gone full-fledged into it yet, but I've run into some issues that I wanted to explain for you all in case maybe some other people may run into these issues in the future. For anyone that maybe you guys that are also into crypto mining, maybe wanting to get into servers and, you know, virtual machines and wallet management through using VMs and such, as well as hosting your own nodes. And notoriously, the first node that I'm going to be hosting myself is going to be my own FLUX node, all right, or actually multiple FLUX nodes, hopefully. So, which, you know, I want to explain a lot in this video of how and why I'm wanting to do this type of setup. And I'm just gonna say right now, ultimately, my whole goal here is to have a high availability setup. I wanna have redundancy. I basically wanna have an enterprise setup in which I'm not gonna have like a single point of failure. Because if I'm gonna be running, you know, virtual machines that are running 24/7, such as my FLUX node, for instance, or whatever other nodes, other services, crypto services out there, that I wanna make sure my backbone, especially for my server rack, I guess my whole setup here, which is in my house. You guys know, over the past couple months here, I've been moving into my new house here, new setup, new mining location, and I have really kind of gone all out. I've went with all Ubiquiti hardware. I'm actually really enjoying the Ubiquiti stuff. It's gotten a lot better over the past 10 years, in my opinion, because when it comes to the control, the management of, let's say, the VLANs, all the different subnets, DHCPs, just everything regarding through the Ubiquiti Dream Machine Pro Special Edition, it's been awesome just to do it all through here, and it manages all of my other switches, which unfortunately you have to stay within the Ubiquiti ecosystem if you want to manage each port individually. And I found that to be pretty awesome. That's why the Ubiquiti, I mean, I also have my Wi-Fi, I also have security cameras and whatnot through my PoE switch right throughout the house, and it's all super easy to manage right through an app. Not sponsored by Ubiquiti, I'm just giving you guys my reasonings and experience here with Ubiquiti. So anyways, a lot to explain. This is probably gonna be a really long video. I just want to just air out everything that I am wanting to achieve here, especially with my servers, okay? So here's the area where I wanna have my servers, right? And I recently also got a Ubiquiti 10 gigabit SFP plus 8-port switch here. This is like an aggregate switch, has 160 gigabits of capacity, in which I really don't think I'm gonna ever utilize that much, but I'm hoping to have my servers going through here through its own VLAN, especially for the iSCSI, the Datastore traffic for ESXi for my virtual machines. That's a whole nother topic. But with that, right, I wanna make sure that on my servers that I have the compatible, I guess, network cards and whatnot. Like, I'm hoping that I can use I guess like fiber cards and you know, transceivers that I may have to buy. And I've been going through some testing of a 10 gigabit transceiver. Okay, this is a GTEK, okay, from Amazon. I bought this off Amazon. GTEK 10 gigabit, all right, so this goes into an SFP plus port. So this would go into my Ubiquiti SFP switch. And then on the other side of it is just a 10 gigabit Ethernet port. Okay, so I was hoping that I will be able to utilize this transceiver mainly for my office, because my office right now, which is not plugged into here yet, it actually goes up through Cat 6A cable, all right, which goes throughout my house, right? It goes to my office. I unfortunately don't have any fiber cables that, you know, that go across my house or anything. It's all Cat 6A. So for anyone that's watching, let me know if you guys have had experience with this and if this works just fine, you know, 10 gigabit throughput through Cat 6A cable instead of a fiber cable. I was thinking if I could maybe run a fiber cable to my office, which is way down there and then up pretty much. So maybe I could, but there are some hurdles, like my drywall for my garage is already up. So I'm not quite sure how the heck I'm going to get up through here to get a fiber cable through the ceiling here. That's something I'm not a wiring guy. I've never done that before. I would love to do it. But in the meantime, I did see this adapter, essentially, this transceiver that goes from SFP Plus to Cat 6A. You guys let me know down below. If anyone's have ever tried this, let me know if this works okay. But on my office side, up in my studio, I do have another one of these SFP Plus switches, because these Ubiquiti 8-port SFP Plus 10 gigabit switches are pretty cheap for what they can achieve. And I'm really surprised with Ubiquiti here. This type of hardware is normally not cheap. But you know, for $299, I was like, you know what? I can get 10 gigabit. I can maybe put some servers up in my office too, or I don't know, like a little NAS or something. But I don't know, maybe I'll have most of my, you know, file storage and stuff down here anyways. But anyways, you guys kind of know how, I guess, my backbone infrastructure works right now. Maybe it's not very good OPSEC, operational security, that I'm explaining all of this. But I really wanted to bring you guys along the journey here of my whole, I guess, crypto server journey. And this is honestly something that I want to do well. I want to make sure this is all set up the way that I want. I guess my expectations are pretty high because I've been into, you know, networking and system admin stuff before in my past life, my past jobs, and I'm kind of bringing my experience for what it's worth here. But I'm kind of really enjoying it because it's been a while since I've kind of done all this. But there are some new things that I have not experienced before, such as this, right? A transceiver, a JBOD adapter that goes to Ethernet. So I found that to be pretty interesting. Okay, so let's go through my servers now. Okay, I've had a lot of fun trying to get Vmware ESXi version 8 to work on these two Dell R610s. These were two servers I traded for with GPUs to the Mining King. Thank you, Mining King, again for these servers, man. Such baller servers. Dual Xeon, I think they're 10 core processors, or 20 with hyper-threading, so 20 core, so 40 threads, and then there's 128 gigs of RAM, and like, I believe this has a Dell PERC H710 RAID controller here, which I've been having an issue. Okay, so this goes back to with the VMware ESXi version 8, because compatibility with older servers such as Dell R610s, it doesn't work, all right? VMware does not support legacy hardware like the V2 Xeons. They're not supported in ESXi version 8. As well, the PERC H710, not supported in VMware version 8. So I was not able to utilize RAID 1, I guess mirrored, I want to have mirrored drives for my ESXi host installation, right? So I got two of these just cheap Kingston 240 gig SSDs. I know some people may scoff at this, but honestly, I don't think there's going to be much, you know, read and write to the VMware ESXi installation. So, but anyways, to have redundancy, right? I wanted to have two SSDs in RAID 1 mirrored mode so that I could be, you know, safe in that regard. And I am gonna do that to the other one as well. But anyways, going back to VMware version 8, I've been playing around the past couple days trying to get that to work, and it just doesn't work. But to go along with that is because these two drives I tried to do RAID 1, this PERC H710 doesn't seem to work. I'm not even able to get to the RAID utility. Like, it doesn't come up. Like, Control R, I believe, is, you know, normally to get into the BIOS utility for the RAID controller here. And I think the battery that came with this H710, it's from 2014, so I believe it's dead. And so I went ahead and ordered 3 new batteries, because I'm just going to replace the batteries in all of the servers I have here for the two R610s, and as well as the Dell R820 All right, this is a monster server I got from Mr. Geek of All Trades. Thank you again, man, for this server. I haven't installed anything or changed out the drives yet. I did buy a bunch of 1 terabyte SSDs, Timetech Premium. I think the TBW on these are like 800 terabytes or something insane. So I think these should be okay. I have 8 here, but I'm only going to be utilizing 6 of them, right? And I'm hoping to do RAID 5 or RAID 10. I guess it depends how many hard drives I'm okay with losing. I think RAID 6 would be 2 drives, RAID 5 is 1. I am not sure if the Dell, I don't know if this is an H720 or 730 PERC RAID card, that if that is capable of doing RAID 6 or not. So ultimately, I think I'm okay with RAID 5. There'll be 1 failover for 1 hard drive. And so I think that'll give me at least 4 or 5 terabytes of space just for my VMs. And for the other 2 drives here, I am going to install another 2 240 gigabyte SSDs in mirrored mode, okay, RAID 1, so that I can have TrueNAS. I'm going to install TrueNAS on this RAID 1 mirrored setup so that I essentially have redundancy here for the host OS. If for some of you guys can understand why I'm doing that. I hope I haven't lost anyone for what I'm talking about here. I think majority of people, especially crypto miners, may not understand what I'm talking about because the servers, in my opinion, it's a whole other monster, right? Compatibility, software, RAID, hard drives, everything kind of has to mesh together. Anyway, continuing on with VMware. I'm wanting to utilize VMware because I am going to be doing these 2 Dell R620s are going to be in HA mode. And so I can't use version 8 like I said, so I'm going to have to go down to I think version ESXi 6.7. I believe the CPU and the RAID controller PERC 710, H710 is compatible with VMware 6.7. ESXi version 7 is not capable. So I'm gonna have to find a ISO for version 6.7, which I've been having a hard time trying to find an older ESXi, or I guess version 6.7 update 3. I believe that is the last ESXi version. You guys can quote me on that for anyone that's still listening to this. But yeah, that's kind of the issues that I've been having recently trying to get VMware set up on these servers. So I've done a lot of like troubleshooting, making sure it's in RAID mode, which it doesn't even recognize the PERC, right? The RAID controller anyway. I've done SATA mode, and the SATA mode won't even recognize regular SSDs by itself. I've done the iDRAC setup, and I've done the BIOS update, re-BIOS updated. These servers were already actually on the latest version, I think 2.9.0 BIOS on the Dell R620s. So that was all well and good in that regard. But I think ultimately it was the battery on this PERC H710 that's not working. So I already ordered 3 of these, should be coming pretty soon, then I can get rolling out. So anyways, going back to this server here, all right, with the 6 1 terabyte drives and then the 2 240 gigabyte drives for the TrueNAS host installation, right? I'm using TrueNAS so that I can use it as a iSCSI data store for my 2 hosts here for ESXi. So the cluster, right, these 2 hosts, right, if, for instance, if one of these servers went down, then the other server would still be able to run the virtual machines running off the 6 SSD array here, if that makes sense to you guys, right? iSCSI data store, which then it's all running through TCP/IP anyway through the network. So that's a whole nother hurdle, which I wanna go through with you guys here, okay? These 2 Dell R620s, they have, there's a 4-port gigabit network card on each one. Okay, 4-port gigabit. So there is no fiber cards, no X520 10 gigabit cards or anything like that. I do have though some extra, actually only one 10 gigabit Intel, I forgot what model this is, converged 10 gig Ethernet port network card. And then I do have another one here from the Mining King, 2-port 10 gigabit network card. So I'm hoping that I can utilize that for each of the servers here, at least have a 10 gigabit connection. But then it goes back to if these are going to be compatible, if I need to buy more of these transceivers, right, from SFP Plus to 10 gigabit Ethernet, or should I go the route of buying DAC capable cables and then a network card to go into the server? Instead of these network cards, I can utilize the DAC, direct attached cable method, like fiber cards going into these servers for, I guess, the iSCSI traffic, if that makes sense, right? And then that's going to be on its own subnet, its own VLAN, in which this array is only going to communicate to these two servers. Like, they don't need internet or anything. The traffic for these two servers in the iSCSI space is going to go within that subnet. I hope I haven't lost anyone yet. If you are still here, let me know down below. But to me right now, in my head, I feel like I'm lost because there's just so much configuration going on here. I feel like I am like seriously missing something, but it feels like I don't have all the parts yet, right? And that also goes with this server as well, the Dell R820, which I got from Geek of All Trades. Thank you again, man. The server's a boss. 4 Xeon processors, okay? 4, right? And then there's 512 gigabytes of RAM. This server is literally insane. Like, this part here comes out, I'm not gonna take it out, but you can lift this part up. Then there's another set of RAM and another 2 processors underneath here. It's just incredible. This server is such a crazy server. But let me turn this server around so I can talk about the expansion cards. Oh man, this server is so heavy, right? It's a 2U server. There is a 4-port 1 gigabit network card. And I believe these 4 here, they could be 10 gigabit ports, but I think they're 1 gigabit ports. Geek of All Trades, you can confirm with me down in the comments. But there's also these 2, I believe these are LC connectors for fiber channel connectivity. And I think these are pretty nice. These are QLogic, and I think they do 8 gigabit. So will these 2 cards, should I use both of these going into the 10 gigabit SFP plus switch here, right? I'll need to find a LC transceiver, I guess, for the other side. And so could that work okay to the 2 hosts, right? The 2 host servers, the Dell R620s for the virtual machines. Do you guys think that will be sufficient enough? Or should I find fiber cards that will directly attach from this server going to the 2 R620s? Can that actually work? No, I don't think so. I would need to have a switch in between these 2 servers in order to make that iSCSI connection. You guys can let me know down below. But this is the part where I'm trying to really wrap my head around how I'm wanting to get these servers connected to the Datastore that's going to be running off TrueNAS on this server. And on top of that, not only do I want to run the server as my VMs, but I was also thinking, because there are extra expansion ports PCIe on this server, that I want to have another 4U server attached to this as another like iSCSI Datastore with TrueNAS, that I can turn it into a bigger file server just to have more space, as well as maybe half of it could be a CHIA setup as well, right? So I could have maybe a virtual machine that is connected to the massive Datastore JBOD setup, maybe for some of the hard drives, half of it maybe for JBOD for CHIA, and then the other half for, you know, file storage or what have you. And so I think that would be pretty cool if I could have that type of setup as well. But that is gonna be something down the road. I don't think I'm gonna have, you know, hard drives right now are not cheap. They are pretty expensive in my opinion, but if I could find some cost-effective way. If any of you guys know of a 4U, you know, JBOD array, server rack array that I could, you know, retrofit to this, connect to this somehow, this will be TrueNAS. You guys can let me know. Let me know down below. I know a lot of you are resourceful in that way, so let me know down below. I know there's, like I said, I think before, a lot of you IT guys out there that know networking and servers as well. Okay, so yeah, man, I've bought a lot of caddies from Amazon, link down below. I mean, these are all connecting 2.5-inch caddies, right? You guys saw me earlier take these out. Just have the 240 gig SSD just like that. Guys, that's really, I think I've explained everything that I've been wanting to achieve here. Hopefully you guys understand why I want to go with, you know, what I want with here and with ESXi, because ESXi has the high availability. Now, I know that there's other options such as Proxmox and other hypervisor software out there that could do HA. I'm just more familiar with ESXi, and I'm actually familiar with Hyper-V as well, Windows Server 2016, 2019, whatever, Hyper-V as well. So that, you know, I could do as well instead of ESXi, but in my opinion, I think ESXi is way better when it comes to, you know, clustering, HA mode, data storing, VMs, and all that kind of stuff. But I know Microsoft is definitely fine in that regard, but I just like ESXi because I've had experience in it. And I do have another server here I forgot to explain. This is my older Dell PowerEdge R410. These have, I have 4 10 gigabit spinning rust WD gold did I say 10 gigabit? 10 terabyte hard drives. And this one I'm probably going to be using as a backup. It's going to run VMware by itself, probably on a USB stick or maybe a SATA DOM. I've seen a lot of the SATA DOMs out there, not that expensive. But USB I could run here, right? Internal USB for VMware version 6.7. That should be no problem in this thing. I've ran ESXi on USB in the past on like version 5, but I've been reading online, VMware no longer really wants to support USB for, you know, ESXi installations. So that's kind of why I went the SSD route, and I bought all these SSDs. Like, they're pretty cheap, right? These are like 15, 20 bucks, and except for my 1 terabyte ones, which I bought on Amazon, these TimeTech, I believe their TLC memory and TBW on them is like 800, right? Which is, I mean, should be good enough. I'm not a high user in terms of files or anything like that, so I don't think there's going to be much read and write, but we're going to see how reliable these are. I did buy 2 extra, right? So I did say I was going to use 6 initially, and then I'll just have these extra 2 as backup in case the drive fails in there, because I'll have it in a RAID setup anyway. Okay, so anyways, yeah, guys, I think that's really it. I feel like I'm almost there, but then I'm not. There's still a lot of things that I guess I need more cables. I also need to make sure I can fit all of those servers here, as well as I need to make sure I have space for a UPS somewhere at the bottom that I can have all this, you know, on at least enough time for it to safely shut down in case the power goes out here. So all in all, right, everything that I'm trying to achieve here is to have, you know, I have mission critical stuff set up for my virtual machines, nodes, whatever that I'm running, crypto wallet management and stuff. And ultimately just being proud of what I'm able to build here myself, right? This is something that I've always wanted. Actually, in my whole life, I've always wanted my own, you know, server rack and such. And I feel like I'm gonna need to get another server rack because I may run out of room here, because I do have a Jasminer X41U and X4Q, which do decently take up some spots as well. So if all said and done, this rack may be full with the UPS, 2 Jasminers, 4 servers, and if I get that future CHIA JBOD, that's gonna be here as well. Yeah, I'm not even gonna think about it. I'm already stressing out. Okay, guys, I think this video is long enough. I don't know if I really explained everything that I wanted to achieve, but if you guys have any, you know, opinions or anything I should do differently, any insight on, you know, the Dell PERC RAID card. I mean, another thing, I was looking at LSI RAID cards as well. I mean, I think those are cheap enough as well, but cheaper route, I just bought some batteries, 3 of them. If those don't work, then I'll just go out and buy a PCIe RAID card, LSI RAID card, plug that in. Then I will probably need to buy new mini SATA cables, because this goes into I don't know what this is a bigger SATA cable part, but that's not going to go into an LSI RAID card. Anyway, so many little tiny things that, yeah, like I said, I've just been going through, and I've been figuring out compatibility wise with the software that I'm wanting to use, which ultimately I'm going to have to use VMware 6.7 anyway. Okay, my friends, I can turn this back on now because I had it off because it's kind of too loud. There you go, IB-Link BMK3. Okay, all right, my friends, let me know your thoughts. Appreciate you all. I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully that, you know, soon enough I'll have these running and get these running on my server rack. All right, I'll see you all in the next one. Can't wait to read your guys' thoughts. I appreciate you all. Have a good one. Peace out.